Przejdziemy na chwilę do singlówek, bo tak ostatnio siedzieliśmy na tym Evolved, jak na burej suce, nie? Ale jak zwykle uważam, że nie ma co gnębić jakiejś konkretnej gierki i lepiej sobie się skupić na czymś dobrym. No i doszedłem do wniosku, że skoro gdzieś tam się pojawiło jakieś porównanie do Obliviona, do Skyrima w tym Evolved, to może byśmy zobaczyli, jakie są ciekawe addony, które można zainstalować do Skyrima. Kiedyś chciałbym sobie wrócić do Skyrima i zagrać go jeszcze raz. I jest tutaj taki filmik. Every Skyrim mod you should be using in 2024. I film ma ponad 1 000 000 wyświetleń, widzowie. To jest niesamowite. Film sprzed 11 miesięcy o grze sprzed 11 lat. Czy tam 12. Rozumiecie? Zabawne, nawet zabawne. I tych filmików, szczerze mówiąc, które podsumowują albo proponują jakieś addony do Skyrima, jest w pizdu i jeszcze trochę. Ja po prostu wziąłem pierwszy z brzegu, bo jestem ciekaw, jakie addony właśnie gościu proponuje. Obejrzymy sobie to.
Every Skyrim mod you should be using in 2024, as well as just some mods that I personally used for years and would never go without. I'm going to be going through each mod quite quickly so I can fit more into this video without wasting your time. Instantly skip dialogue is a true must-have. This mod allows you to skip any dialogue instantly, meaning that you can now skip
tutaj
dialogue
zaczynamy
that you couldn't
mało
bypass
ambitnie.
before from characters like the Augur of Dunlane, Molag Bal, and most obviously, Hermaeus Mora, as you can now just skip right through. However, there are still a few lines that the author couldn't figure out how to skip, which is only a little hiccup in an otherwise perfect mod. Either way, if you're sick of having to hear Hermaeus Mora's 5-minute rant every playthrough, install this mod. Lockpicking in Skyrim can be quite annoying. Remember, lockpicking angle makes it less annoying. When your lockpick breaks, the game puts it at the starting angle, which makes it harder to remember where you were, especially on tough locks. The mod simply makes it so that it keeps the new lockpick at the same angle where the last one broke, which just means less guessing and more streamlined lockpicking.
Szczerze widzowie, myślałem, że tu będzie taki, wiecie, strzał modami, które no niesamowicie zwiększają na przykład immersję w rozgrywce, a nie takie pierdolety typu quality of life. A Skyrim fajny, Dario, tylko kurczę, wlecze się trochę, potrafi się wlec, jak szukasz, nie wiem, jakiejś wartkiej fabuły, ale to nie o to chodzi w Skyrimie, mam wrażenie. W Skyrimie to chodzi o eksplorację, robienie tych pobocznych questów, progres i trochę bawienie się z tym światem. No. Bo jak ktoś szuka właśnie takiego RPG-a, który, no nie wiem, będzie go ciągnął za rączkę od NPC do NPC, od zadania do zadania, to nawet nie wiem, czy Evolved by nie było lepszą grą, co?
Now let's discuss a mod that I forgot wasn't a vanilla feature, Forget Spell. As your magical power increases, your spell menu can become cluttered with a lot of spells that are no longer relevant to your current level. This clutter can obviously range from novice spells that outlived their usefulness, to redundant spells that no longer fit your character's build, or quest-related spells that are now useless. Forget Spell allows you to remove them all with a click of a hotkey. Simply hover over the target spell and then click the Forget key. Really simple and really strange this wasn't a vanilla feature,
quality of life
considering
widzowie
it was
tutaj
already
są.
in Morrowind. It's also great for players who are playing as warriors and don't want to use magic at all, as it allows you to get rid of the default healing and flame spell. Next we have better jumping, which makes
Poka, co to? Jakieś lepsze? A, to będzie też, to jest ciekawy filmik, no, ale dzisiaj już tego nie obejrzymy, ale no,
you can
to
jump
może być
while
ciekawe.
sprinting. Once you play with this mod, you will never want to have it off. Now for the first of the animations, I use no spinning death animation, which does exactly what it says, and removes the silly spin that happens either when you die or an enemy dies. Next, I use assorted animation fixes, which encompasses a variety of animation fixes, like at the end of the torch idle animation, it stops your character from twitching strangely. It also fixes the issue caused by wielding a staff in your right hand and spell in your left, as before it causes the left-handed spell to float up in the wrong position. It also fixes a few more things, but they're all in the same vein, fixing some of the more sloppily made vanilla animations. For a mod
Kurde, to wiecie co, bo te addony to na razie wyglądają tak, jakby, no nie wiem, nie było tutaj za bardzo co poprawiać, nie?
by the same author, I
Ta,
also
ta,
use
ta, no te
pristine
addony są
vanilla
takie
movement.
mech na razie.
Maybe you haven't, but have you ever noticed how weird your
Takie
hands look when you
poprawki,
run, or how the walking
animacji.
and running animations just don't loop right? This mod fixes those problems. Your character will have a bit of bounce when they run, making the movement feel more relaxed and realistic. Now for combat, we have precision. This mod makes fighting feel more real and immersive, thanks to a bunch of cool features. First up, precision changes how hitting works in game. game. When you swing your weapon, you'll only hit what's actually in front of it. This means if you're swinging a sword or even using your fists, you'll hit all the enemies that come into your weapon's path. This means you can hit every enemy in front of you at once.
A to jest ciekawe akurat.
On how many enemies you can hit in one swing in the mod configuration menu. Another cool thing Precision adds is realistic reactions when you hit enemies. They won't just stand there anymore, they'll move or flinch, making the hit feel way more satisfying. Then there's the weapon trails that can be seen.
Okej, dobra, bo wiecie co, ja mam wrażenie, że tak zaczynamy, nie? Ale zaraz się zacznie troszkę ambitniej. Natomiast to są takie poprawki, które faktycznie mogą wpłynąć na odbiór tego świata, nie? Jak jednak czujesz impact ciosu, to inaczej.
With a hit stop feature that pauses the action for a split second and shakes the camera a bit when you land a hit, making you feel the power of your attacks, which works especially well for things like warhammers. And with the mod installed, you'll even notice how your attacks bounce back a bit when you hit certain materials up close, adding more to the realism. And the best part is that you can customize almost everything through the mod configuration menu, so you can make combat feel exactly how you like it. Precision is a game changer for me, and I can't imagine playing without it now. It's a serious upgrade over the original game. Next, we have the Magic Sneak Attacks mod. This mod does exactly what the name suggests. It lets you sneak attack with magic. Before you obviously couldn't do this, only physical attacks worked for sneak attacks.
To jest, człowieku, chyba OP, co? Można krytycznie uderzyć ze skradania się. Przecież jak ja widziałem te... Cześć Magielena. Nie widziałem, przepraszam, wiadomości. Ale jak widziałem... Znaczy, ja grałem w ogóle łucznikiem, który zadawał obrażenia z skradania się. Znaczy, miał mnożniki, gdy wychodził ze skradania, zadając obrażenia ze strzału, z łuku. No to były jakieś absurdalne wartości. O.
But now spells and shouts that shoot something like Fire Breath or Ice Spike can be used quietly for extra damage. I don't know why Bethesda
Nie wiem, Magielena, ale tylko chcę zobaczyć, jakie addony właśnie proponuję tak indywidualnie.
Now for a mod that I believe is essential for any Skyrim modder's toolkit, we have Trainwreck, a crash logger. Using Trainwreck is really straightforward. When Skyrim crashes, which, as many of us know, can happen for loads of reasons when mods are involved, Trainwreck activates. It automatically generates a text file containing a crash report. This report doesn't just give you a heap of indecipherable data, instead it points you towards the mods that are most likely causing the instability. While it can't be 100% accurate, it's still really helpful in troubleshooting. I've covered this mod in one of my previous videos, so I'll just share the same example I did there here, so you can better understand the mod. So my game was crashing on
Tak. No, ja w pewnym momencie już przestałem odczuwać silent satysfakcję, bo za łatwo szło, nie? To tak jak z Elden Ringiem. Jak grałem w Elden Ringa pod katanę, pod krwawienie, to już uznałem, że muszę zmienić broń. Swoją drogą zmieniłem na kolejną OP broń, no ale tego nie wiedziałem. No ale katany no były mega OP.
I'd been adjusting my mod list, so instead of disabling and re-enabling all the mods to identify the offender, Trainwreck pinpointed that consoleutil.dll was the probable cause of my crashing. A quick check in my mod manager confirmed that I'd been using an outdated version of consoleutil, leading to me disabling it, which resulted
Kurde, dobrze ta gra wygląda nawet po latach, wiecie? Podoba mi się. Jest taka stosunkowo surowa, ale dobrze to wygląda.
Light in Skyrim improves game performance by removing small, hard-to-notice items like certain plants, clutter, rocks.
Dobra, może dlatego dobrze wygląda, bo pewnie tutaj jeszcze jakieś dodatkowe addony graficzne są.
That you never see anyways. It cleans up both the wilderness areas and the interiors of the 5 major cities. The goal is to make the game run smoother without you even noticing any of the removed details. It's really simple and basically a free performance upgrade. For another extremely simple addition, we have Skyrim Priority. This mod is all about making your game run better, and what it does is simple. It sets Skyrim as high priority in your computer's task manager. Normally you could do this manually, but it's a hassle to do it every time you play, so Skyrim Priority automates this process. By giving Skyrim high priority, your computer focuses more on running the game, which means it will probably...
Ale ja czasami zauważyłem, Cylon, że mam czasami tak, że czasami wręcz czuję po prostu satysfakcję, że udało mi się znaleźć coś takiego OP, nie? Totalnie OP. I gram tym i wręcz tak jakby tłumaczę sobie to tak, że po prostu stałem się zajebistym bohaterem. Tak jak Seed Warriorem grałem w The Old Republic, no to po prostu czułem się jak taki totalny badass, ale no czasami gra jest tak skonstruowana i tak przedstawia ten świat, że nie potrafię sobie tego w ten sposób wytłumaczyć i po prostu mam wrażenie, że zepsułem grę i muszę wtedy właśnie zmienić konfigurację mojej postaci albo skille, albo broń, albo coś tam.
Probably stutter less and lead to smoother gameplay. It's a small change that can make a difference in how well Skyrim runs on your computer. But before we continue, I'd just like to thank War Thunder for sponsoring this video. War Thunder stands as the most extensive vehicle combat game ever created, with over 70 million players worldwide.
Tak, Pony, no dokładnie, właśnie. Musisz też to sam odkryć, a nie, że gdzieś zobaczysz. To prawda. No tutaj Borkars, ta magia, nie? Wydaje się takim typowym ułatwieniem. Natomiast to walnięcie mieczem i zaatakowanie wszystkich, którzy stoją na drodze ataku, kurde, wydaje się to imersyjne, no bo tak to teoretycznie powinno działać, no nie wiem.
PC and consoles. You get to control over 2,500 different tanks, planes, helicopters and ships from 10 major nations.
I płonę, ile tak pograłeś? 3 dni ci znerfili?
Moving green boxes that can shoot. Each vehicle has specific parts like engines, fuel tanks, weapons, and a crew that can get damage from enemy fire.
Ale to chyba Morkars, ja jak nie mam doświadczenia z modowaniem, to muszę zrobić tak, jak to robi Magialena, że pobierasz od razu gotową paczkę, tak jak ona mówi. I wtedy się nie bawię w optymalizację, ładuję wszystko. Wiadomo, że to jest w miarę pointegrowane, zoptymalizowane i jazda. Ale ten Skyrim, kurde, on naprawdę chyba potrafi dobrze wyglądać, co? Aż bym zagrał. Aż bym zagrał, no.
Skyrim feels the same no matter what happens, be it civil wars, dragon attacks, or vampire threats. Essentially, these mods dynamically change locations in-game to better reflect what's going on in the world around them. For instance, there's the Ruined Tundra farmhouse mod. It's near Whiterun between the Western Watchtower and Fort Greymore, and the mod changes the farmhouse as you play. It initially starts the game intact with 2 elderly occupants, but as the dragon attacks the Western Watchtower, it gets destroyed, along with its 2 residents.
Zajebiste, widzowie. Bardzo fajny modzik w takim razie. Rozumiecie, że zmienia ci lokację w zależności od tego, w którym momencie tam, no ile czasu upłynie, czy w którym momencie jesteś może w jakiejś linii fabularnej. I chciałbym, żeby to tak działało w MMORPG-ach. Jak wrzucają patche, to stare lokacje w jakiś sposób się modyfikują i reagują na pewne wydarzenia w świecie gry. Boże, jakby to tak działało.
NPC will come along to start to repair the broken house. After some more time has passed and the NPC has fully cleared all the debris and has repaired the home, he'll settle down and he'll be joined by his wife and child.
Tak, bo wiesz, jak to Florek jest z tą kompatybilnością. Jak masz napisane, że mod A jest kompatybilny z modem B, a B jest A, no git. Jak masz te 2 mody zainstalowane. A jak jeszcze dorzucisz C, D, E, F, no to wiesz, prawdopodobnie tutaj już masz interakcję między każdym modem. I się zaczyna.
This is to better reflect the consequences of the dragons returning to Skyrim. Or for something quite different, we have the Rift and Warehouse mod. After you finish the supply and demand quest, which involves you stopping a skoomer operation within the Rift, instead of the warehouse on Riften's docks sitting completely idle and vacant, it turns into an outpost for the East Empire Company. It becomes a shop with 2 new NPCs, who the mod author has given dialogue by splicing vanilla lines together, and the change isn't instantaneous, it happens slowly so it feels more natural. Then there's Frogar's house. After you completed the Pale Lady quest, which starts with you talking to Issa Blackthorn, she'll simply make her way back to Morthal and just sit in the inn for the rest of the game. So instead of completely wasting our character, the mod makes it so that after you've completed the later rest quest involving Alva and Frogar, Issa will now start to rebuild Frogar's burnt down house. Once the house is fixed, you can make Issa your follower. Issa also talks more with new dialogue made from existing voice lines. She fights with the game's usual followers like Lydia.
Kurde, fajny modzik. No i widzicie, mamy pierwszy taki modzik, który wpływa na ten świat tak pozytywnie. Może właściwie nie pierwszy, ale no dobre.
Similar small changes to certain locations in the game. So again, I download this mod as there really isn't a reason not to. Moving on to another essential mod that, while it may appear simple at first glance, is actually very useful. Read or take. In the vanilla game, attempting to pick up a book forces you to open it, which is slightly annoying because you have to close it again. But the larger issue is that you can't save skill books.
Sprawdź sobie, Craven. Ja nie za bardzo mogę streamować, ale serio to jest tylko... Wiesz co, Craven? Pytanie, czy grałeś w zwykłego WoWa, ale... No bo ja nie polecam Ascension, jeśli ktoś nie grał w WoWa wcześniej, nie znam mniej więcej tych skilli wszystkich klas. Wydaje się, że może to być przytłaczające, ale generalnie mega ciekawe to jest podejście. Niestety jest pay to winem, ale takie doświadczenie expienia i losowania skilli mega interesujące.
Mod introduces a solution, allowing players to choose between reading a book immediately or taking it with them to read later, by simply holding the shift
No to Craven wydaje mi się, że mega warto, wiesz, sprawdzić sobie chociaż.
As I said, this is super handy for skill books, letting you save them for when it's tougher to level up. It's a really small tweak, but it fixes something that should have really been in the game from the start. As a bonus, there's also the use or take mod, which has the same functionality to other items in game. So for example, instead of having to pick food off the table, add it to your inventory and then select it to eat it, you can just eat it right.
Można wpierdzielić. Człowieku, to jest akurat OP mod, bo Zamiast brać ser i dopiero go zjeść, to od razu możesz w nim zatopić, oblizać go od razu możesz i nawet jak cię 5 strażników napadnie, to i tak ser jest twój, bo oblizany. Nie, no to akurat już broken jest.
Now let's move on to a user interface mod, where the focus on a game aspect you interact with extremely frequently, but might not give much thought to. Locks. We're looking at a security overhaul lock variations. This one introduces an array of
W jakim sensie jest tam pay to win? Zdaje się, że jak ja grałem ostatnio, to tam mogłeś sobie kupić na przykład scrolle, które pozwalają ci na restart skilli, wiesz? Mogłeś, zdaje się, to w jakiś tam sposób zdobyć, ale tak po prostu mogłeś sobie zakupić je i losować skille jeszcze raz, więc to był jeszcze taki, wiesz, że płaciłeś i jeszcze nie wiedziałeś do końca, co za to będzie, więc no... Można powiedzieć, że nawet monetyzacja bez sufitu. Nieprzyjemna.
Ensuring that the lock you're picking isn't just another generic metal lock, but it's tailored to its location. So now Dwemer chests will have Dwemer locks, the eerie Falmer camps will have Troris locks that you definitely shouldn't question the shape of, or even Snow Elven chests hidden within the Forgotten
Kurczę,
Vale.
to też fajne, nie?
Chests and Apocrypha with their own locks, along with those frost-encrusted chests dotting the landscapes of Skyrim, now boasting their unique
Takie
locks.
pierdoły, ale to
Don't
jest...
worry, it doesn't end there.
No to
There are
wpływa
also
na
two
odbiór
add-ons.
gierki.
There's regional locks and lock add-ons. Regional locks provides a sense of uniqueness to the cities of Skyrim by offering specialized locks for places like Whiterun, Raven Rock, Solitude,
A jak ten Ragnarok? Sprawdzałaś, czy nie? A Maple Story nie wiem, czy teraz nie ma być zamknięte definitywnie, że tak powiem.
Helm,
Coś
and
słyszałem.
Riften. Even extends its detail to the College of Windhold and Tel Mithrin. On the other hand, lock add-ons expands the variety
Ja mam
further,
zamiar
bringing in
na
new
Gielena.
lock styles from the Iliad and Nordic
A wiesz może o
ruins,
której godzinie
Dark
ma
Soul
wystartować
Care,
Blade
and
and
even
Soul?
includes a special lock for the tension cable found on trapped chests, not to mention the worn-out waterlogged chest locks. Again, this is
dwójka w
just
Korei.
another mod
Okej.
that should have really been implemented in the vanilla game, as it's just that good. In an ideal world, Bethesda would have just absorbed this mod into the vanilla game for the Anniversary Edition. Better third-person selection makes interacting with objects in third person way easier. You don't have to aim exactly at something to pick it up anymore. Just aiming in the general direction works, which means you can grab small things like coins without having to switch to first person. Also, you can use shift and mouse wheel to quickly switch between objects near you based on what the mod thinks is most important. This mod is a great help for making the game more enjoyable to play in third person.
Ja powiem wam szczerze, widzowie, jak grałem w Skyrima, zawsze pierwsza osoba. Zawsze pierwsza osoba. Nie wiem, to już... W ogóle teraz jak grałem w Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, uważam, że pierwsza osoba, mega immersyjny rzut kamery. Nie wiem, czy istnieje bardziej immersyjne podejście do RPG niż rzut właśnie z pierwszej osoby. Tak po prawdzie, no. Niesamowicie immersyjne to jest. No.
Introduces a suite of new quality of life features that transform how you interact with the game's world through your compass. It adds names and distances to the markers on the compass, which helps you to know how far away you are from a place and if it's higher or lower than you. This is especially useful for planning routes, especially when you're near a cliff or mountain. There's a variety of settings you can change. You can choose if map markers show the goal.
A widzu ostatnio też mówił, że w Tibijce zajebiście.
When you look at a quest marker, you'll see a list of current goals for that quest. This means that you spend less time in menus and more time actually playing the game. The mod also lets you decide if you want to see undiscovered places only if you've unlocked them on the
Widzu
map.
powiedział, że w Tibijce zajebiście, bo nie widać nieba i to jest jak w realnym życiu właściwie. Bo też jak w tej Polsce żyjesz, to zawsze taki przygnębiony i w ziemię patrzysz. I mówi, że się czuje jak w prawdziwym świecie.
The enemies on the compass, as it's more realistic not knowing, because knowing where enemies are through walls doesn't really fit the game's reality. In short, the compass navigation overhaul is another must-have for Skyrim if you want a smoother, more streamlined gameplay experience. Now let's get a little bit more controversial with some graphic mods. In this section I've basically only included mods that look way better than vanilla, and there isn't really another mod that does the job as well. Starting off, I can't see myself ever uninstalling visual animated enchantments. This mod makes enchanted weapons look at least 10 times cooler with new enchantment effects.
I to jest coś dla mnie, widzowie. To jest coś dla fana Lineage'a 2. Nie no, miecz się musi świecić. Jak się miecz nie świeci człowieku, to jesteś pizda, nie bohater. Musi świecić.
Every weapon, be it a trusty sword you've carried from the beginning, or a legendary axe discovered in the depths of a forgotten dungeon, is now adorned with a new, sleek, swirling enchantment pattern. Now keep in mind that I'm using an old version of the mod. There's a newer version by the author made with all new weapon effects that are unique to each enchantment. Like our lifesteal weapons will now have a magical red aura, flame enchanted weapons will look as if they're actually on fire, and soul trap weapons will now have a purple glow. I just personally prefer the older, simpler version as I think it looks sleeker, though whatever you choose, either option is a massive upgrade to vanilla. Flesh Effects does away with the unappealing green glow that is applied to your character every time you use an alteration protection spell. Instead, it introduces a series of new, animated textures that look a lot better. Each spell now boasts a unique texture that corresponds to its nature. For instance, when you cast Oak Flesh, your character's skin takes on a wooden brown texture. On the other hand, Ebony Flesh has a more black texture.
Kurde, widzowie, była jakaś gra, która też miała takie charakterystyczne efekty na twojej postaci. Też był... Czy to nie było w Neverwinterze? Nights? Był jakiś RPG, który tak charakterystycznie taka powłokę robił na postaci, ale nie pamiętam. Wiem, że zawsze mi się podobało w Dragon Age'u 1, jak były umorsane krwią.
Reflecting its protective power.
Też było super.
These will only show on your character's skin, so you won't see them on top of your armor. I just think it's a simple upgrade to the boring vanilla glow. Enchantment Table Variants by Wielding Man is an unrivaled upgrade to the amenity that you see and use so often in your playthroughs. It introduces custom textures that make these tables have a more rustic appeal, coupled with high quality details like the skull and candles that make it look so much better. Though it not only upgrades the vanilla table, but also adds...
Ale roboty robią ci moderzy, nie? Tyle lat i dalej. Ciekawe, kiedy te mody wyszły. Może wyszły już 10 lat temu, ale... No roboty w ciul. Na każdym etapie gra ulepszona. No niesamowite to jest.
Or for those fascinated by the Dwemer's ancient technologies, the mod introduces a Dwemer variant, which you can...
Kingdoms of Amalur? Kurde, może? Poka. Nie pamiętam, wiesz? Fuji. Cześć Marwak, siema. Ale chyba nie. Kojarzy mi się jeszcze z czymś innym. Jeszcze z czymś innym mi się chyba kojarzy. Nie wiem, no nie pamiętam za cholerę, wiesz? Nie pamiętam.
Find used by Calcimo himself in Understone Keep. Lastly, the mod adds an alchemy theme variant in Riften, used by the boss McCourt Mage Rolandria. All in all, it's a fantastic upgrade to a workstation that you're bound to see and use often in your playthroughs. Now this one is very subjective, but I'm still going to include it as I would never play without it. We have no camera filters. This mod does something really simple. It gets rid of almost all the camera effects. This means no more blood splatter on your screen, no weird colors when you cast magic or use shouts, and no distortion from explosions. I personally really don't like stuff like blood splatter effects on your screen, as it's supposed to make it seem like blood got on a camera, but it doesn't really make sense when you're supposed to be in the game, seeing through your character's eyes. This mod keeps your view clear, so nothing pulls you out of the experience. Daedric Shrines is a simple yet very atmospheric mod. It adds in or replaces the shrine for each respective Daedric prince around Skyrim. For instance, there's the new shrine to Meridia, which I think looks even better than the original, with a completely new shrine to Molag Bal that can be found in both Morvast Lair and Castle Volkihar. The same goes for all the other Daedric princes. Their shrine has been replaced if they already had one, but if they didn't, it's been added to a fitting location, like the new shrine to Hircine that can be found in Falkreath's Wilderness.
Szykuj na SSD z 220 GB miejsca, jak chcesz pograć fully modded wersję, plus 300 na storage modów. Ale tu jak? W sensie co? Że co, że w sumie 520? Nie, no to bym musiał cały fab folder wyrzucić. Właściwie połowę. To za duże poświęcenie jak na Skyrima. Nie wiem, czy jestem gotów. Za dużo. Ale wiecie, to co mnie fascynuje, to tutaj tak patrzymy dość indywidualnie na te mody, nie? Ale weźcie to wszystko do kupy. Tyle elementów poprawionych. Jest zajaweczka, no jest zajaweczka. Niesamowite to jest, kurde.
Which can be found just south of Lake Ilanolta. All in all, this is a great mod that really integrates well with the game, especially if you're running religion mods. Now for some of the best retextures ever made, we have Zabio's armor retextures. Zabio has created armor textures for almost every wearable item in game, be it leather armor, mage robes, or ebony armor. He has made a great retexture for it. What's even better is that his textures also encompass the content added by the Creation Club, so all the new alternate
odświeżenie armorków.
There are also bonus additions, like making the unique Armor of the Old God set actually have unique textures by making it white, rather than it just being the default Forsworn armor.
Zajebiście, kurde, no zajebiście.
The game by completely reworking the interior lighting. The author behind the mod took the original game's lighting and basically made it way better, and they didn't just tweak settings, they rebuilt lights from scratch.
Ja to jestem widzowie zachwycony, jak czasami sobie goticzka odpalę, nie? jedynkę albo dwójkę i zmoduję pod obsługę DirectX'a 11 i lepsze teksturki tam dam w high quality. Jestem zachwycony. Ja nigdy nie grałem w Skyrima, znaczy żadnych modów nie miałem, nigdy na Skyrimie. Ja bym sobie teraz tak na Skyrima to wszystko poinstalował człowieku, to bym czuł jak, no naprawdę, że w świeżutką gierkę gram.
Carefully in every indoor area. Lux is great for making the game's interiors look not just better, but more realistic, especially if you're using an ENB. With Lux, you'll notice that every indoor space, from dungeons to taverns, looks more consistent and real. Now this is a tiny mod, but one I had to include. JS Dragon Claws simply upgrades the look of the Dragon Claws in Skyrim. The new models and textures make these items look amazing, and since you run into Dragon Claws a lot in game, this mod makes finding them more interesting by making them look better. Now for NPCs. Now this is a very subjective area, so I've only included 2 mods that I don't believe have a rival and are a complete upgrade to vanilla. Bits and Pieces skin textures, along with its race-based textures add-on, is a combo that completely changes how characters look, making the characters definitely prettier, whilst not going completely overboard. The race-based textures add-on takes it further by giving each race its own unique look. For example, orcs look bulkier and stronger, dark elves are thinner and look a bit bony, and Bretons are a bit flabbier in comparison. If you're worried these changes might be a bit
no tu akurat nie wiem, widzowie. Musiałbym zobaczyć przelipo. O kurde, ale ładną panią zrobiło, nie?
Across all the races. High poly head is a staple if you want even better looking characters. It essentially upgrades the shape of your head in game to be more detailed, smoother, and less jagged due to adding more polygons. It's just a complete upgrade to vanilla. Now we turn our attention to a series of mods that breathes new life into
Emo feeling będzie taki, jakbyś grał w gierkę z przyszłości. 90% gier wychodzi dzisiaj jak ulepione z śliny i łupieżu. Wiesz, to w sumie może wtedy bym po prostu czuł, że wiecie jak to jest. Jak sobie przypominasz gierkę, to masz zawsze wrażenie, że to lepiej wyglądało niż jak faktycznie później w nią zagrasz. No i teraz po prostu jakbym tak zamodował tego Skyrima, to powiedzmy, że uczucie by było takie, jak to się dawniej grało, nie? Tego Skyrima. Cześć Stikrew, witam. Testujesz jutro fellowship? Tak, planuję, no. Co najgorsze, ze Skyrima da się zrobić full NSCW. Co najgorsze, literówkę zrobiłaś. Albo autokorekta Magielena. Co najlepsze chyba chciałaś napisać.
to the game's NPC interactions. J-Serper's Line Expansion series is a fantastic addition. Now this isn't just one mod, it's a series that J-Serper's made to greatly expand the amount of dialogue generic NPCs have. For example, in Bandit Lines expansion, it introduces nearly 500 unique lines for bandits alone, ensuring that each encounter feels more distinct. Bandits now express a wide range of emotions and thoughts, from reflections on their chosen path of life, to thoughts on their personal desires and regrets. The bandits will also have more personalized comments on the player's actions during combat, which just helps to break the chain of hearing the same few lines over and over.
Też spoko, nie? Też pierdoła, widzowie. Więcej linii dialogowych u bandytów jakichś.
Which was made to be used with the additional Dremora Faces mod. So all in all the pair introduced over 7 new voice types
ale to na pewno w ogólnym rozrachunku dodaje.
For the new female Dremora to diversify the previously few lines they had. Vampires 2 benefit from the expansion, gaining access to approximately...
Widzowie, a Paris w końcu przeszedł tego Skyrima, czy nie? Czy olał już w pewnym momencie?
50 new lines. These additions are
była zajaweczka, nie? U Parisa na tego Skyrima przez jakiś czas.
Specific conditions, so vampires will now react to things such as the player's combat style. There are also mods to give the Forsworn, Stormcloaks and Imperials the same treatment, which I just think helps to further add to the game's depth and replayability, with dialogue that adapts to various factors such as the time of day, player attributes, and situational context. NPCs in Skyrim are now far more reactive and intelligent. Now for this section we're just going to rapid fire through a lot of mods that are either seen as a standard or fix issues within Skyrim that you should use. Power of Three's tweaks fixes a load of bugs, with one of them being that your conjuration spells can get absorbed if you have any sort of spell absorption. The unofficial Skyrim patch is a no-brainer that fixes countless issues, though some people don't use it because some of the changes it makes definitely extends beyond fixing bugs, like how it adds a whole new bedroom to the Ragged Flagon so the NPCs can sleep, but even if you aren't a fan of changes like that, it's still very much worth using. SSE Engine engine fixes a lot of bugs, with the most noticeable of which being that in the
Okej, tutaj
vanilla
już
game,
jakieś
enemies can
naprawianka
sometimes spawn
bugów
in
i
with their perk
zmiany w
effects applied
balansie.
twice. So if they had a perk that simply gave them more damage, you would likely take a lot more damage than you were meant to. Sky UI turns the user interface designed for controller users into something more PC friendly, and race menu greatly expands upon the customization options available in the character creator. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video.
Tyle.
You can play it for free on
Widzowie.
PC.
Koniec. Dziękuję bardzo. Szczerze mówiąc, liczyłem na to, że będzie jeszcze więcej takich imersyjnych modów. Zobaczymy sobie na inną paczkę, może na następnym streamie, ale kurde, no powiem wam, że no jak ja tyle lat nie grałem w Skyrima, to chyba warto wrócić, ale wiecie, na liście mam jeszcze dużo innych, ważniejszych giereczek RPG do przetestowania. Na pierwszym miejscu wiecie co jest? Final Fantasy VII, cały czas. Ale marzę o niej od 2 tygodni chyba, albo od 3 i nie miałem czasu jeszcze zainstalować nawet.